It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is the Locked On Auburn podcast, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast, presented by our friends at Fetch Me. You need to head to Fetch Me because Fetch Me has a great selection of anything you want, including meals from your favorite restaurants, groceries, coffee, dry cleaning, and more. They have the friendliest and fastest service in town. Also, a new move this month. Fetch Me has launched a late night service on Friday and Saturday between 11 and 2. They listen to folks. They listen to the feedback, and so you can check that out. And looks like local restaurants are all about that. And also, they have a Beat Bama food drive campaign for their third year in a row. They match 100% of all donations. Help Fetch Me beat Bama and get the word out. You can use Fetch Me 20, your promo code at checkout for your first delivery free. Fetch Me 20. That's at fetchmedelivery.com and the free Fetch Me app. I'm Zach Blackerby, joined by Michael Pappas. Hello, sir.
Hello, Zach. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing better than a lot of Auburn fans for whatever reason. There's folks are pretty upset. Folks are pretty upset with this team, and it's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, I don't really understand that either. During the fourth quarter of this game, I was at Skybar watching with Dan Peck before we did after the game.
Sure.
And during the fourth quarter, he kind of looked at me and was like, there's still a decent shot Auburn could lose this game. And it didn't even occur to me that was still really a possibility. I mean, it really seemed like Auburn dominated the entire football game, put up 500 yards of offense for, the first time against a real opponent in what seems like a while. I don't actually have the numbers on there, but the offense looked good. The defense looked like the defense typically does. I know the final score, I guess, doesn't give you a ton of hope. It kind of makes you pause when Auburn only wins 20-14, but they did miss 3 field goals. So, when you kind of take that into account, that's not going to happen every game. You kind of take that into account, 29-14. That's a pretty decent win if they don't miss those 3 field goals.
I mean, there were several things that Auburn fans have been screaming for, and they did them. Pass on early downs.
Yep.
Bo Nix did that. Call plays to the middle of the field.
They did that.
Throw to the tight end. They did that.
J.J. Wilson was involved. I thought he had a very good game.
Yeah. Get the ball to Anthony Schwartz.
They did that.
Get Eli Stove back involved.
Eli Stove and Will Hastings.
Start DJ Williams. Get DJ Williams going. And I think he showed to me that he's RB1. We can talk about that in a second. But it's just fascinating to me that all season they've been asking for those 5 or 6 things, and they do it. And they found success with it. And it didn't always turn into points. And so that's what you want to be upset about. And that's a shame. I think that's a shame. I think Malzahn called an excellent game against Ole Miss. I think execution faltered. I think you missed a few key guys on defense. I also think they were kind of taking it off a little bit. But when you look at this offense, I think the offense was fine. I think it was okay. You didn't play a great game. And I think the glass half full way to look at it is, and somebody tweeted this to me. I forget who it is. But they said, this matchup had the makings to be a trap game. Everything about it. You go on the road and you lose an emotional game to a team that, a good team that you had a chance to beat. And then you get home and it's an easy cupcake SEC West opponent, as easy as an SEC West team could be. I think Ole Miss was pretty bad. It looks like you disagree, but just one more. But you come out and you win, and you're 7-2, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree. All wins count the same. I do think it is worth noting that Ole Miss's record is not good. There's no way to sugarcoat that. They're 3-5 now, but they have had success, especially on offense, against every team they've played this season outside of Memphis in their first game. They've been in every game this season that they've played, including, the loss against Cal, which is going to end up being a bad loss, but that's more about Cal and the struggles they've ended up having, but on offense because their quarterbacks keep getting hurt. But Ole Miss, their defense is coached by one of the best defensive coaches in the country. Mike McIntyre, I mean, I think he's going to be the next coach at Ole Miss, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, we know what he did with Colorado a couple years ago. That ended up not working out, but he's a very good coach. Getting back to the basics, just coaching the defense. The defense hasn't been terrible this year. They've actually played pretty well. I mean, going back to that first game, holding Memphis's offense to just 15 points, which is something that, no one does. Memphis put up like 60 or something against SMU this weekend, an undefeated SMU team. And it's, yes, Auburn should have won by more. Yes, this should be an easy cupcake win. But, the way the game played out, it played out like a cupcake win would, right? I mean, the Auburn offense looked great. Like you said, and it is worth noting a ton of guys played, both on offense and on defense. I mean,
Right.
Just looking at, one play alone, the 78-yard catch and run for Harold Joyner, the guy out in front of him lead blocking was Shedrick Jackson.
Right.
And it was great. I mean, you shouted him out in your GIF thread this week, and whatever. And, when I saw the play, I immediately thought that we were going to talk about it because I was like, that was great downfield blocking by one of the receivers. Yeah, you'd like to see Harold Joyner get in the end zone there. That's a whole different, discussion. But, I mean, I really thought Auburn was clicking on all cylinders on both sides of the ball, really from start to finish. It's just a shame that a guy who's usually so reliable and and the bookstore, Anders Carlson, just had, the worst game of his life.
Yeah. I if I had to bet, does he miss 3 field goals in a game again? I'm going to say he doesn't.
Unless he's kicking 50, unless it's like, he's got 5 field goals on the day and 3 of them are from 50 plus. Mm-hmm. Then maybe you could see it happening, but
yeah,
this game even immediately after was painted in such a bad light, and I don't know. I thought Auburn played really well.
Yeah, before we talk about some of the stuff happening off the field, Derek Brown, his play where he's coming in from the sideline, and I mean the timing was perfect. The play call was like the perfect storm for everything. I mean, that was one of my favorite plays that I can remember, like watching Auburn. I mean, that was so fun.
And it was just, that's one of those things from, I guess, like an Ole Miss perspective. That's just,
it stinks.
It's just so unlucky, right? I mean, it's the right read, it's the right throw. I mean, he made a good throw, and the poor running back at whatever he is, 5'9", 180, just turned around right into a 300-pounder running full speed at him. Like,
what does that feel like? I mean, that's gotta.
It's got to be oh my gosh. So I think one of the Auburn players after the game was like, if I was that guy, I would have just quit.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gotten up. I'd still be on the grass at Jordan Hare Stadium.
Finding the right pros for home projects can be tough and spark a lot of questions, like, how do I find a pro who can help? Will they do a good job? Will I get a fair price? Well, that's where HomeAdvisor can help. From leaky faucets to major remodels, HomeAdvisor connects you to the right pro for the job in seconds and even helps you get a fair price. Read reviews, check project cost guides, and book appointments. Go to HomeAdvisor.com or download the free HomeAdvisor app to start your next project.
When you're finished with today's episode, the Locked On Podcast Network has an amazing national show lineup for you. Every Monday, the new Hollinger and Duncan NBA show brings you insight from former NBA executive and analytics guru John Hollinger. Rejecting the Screen brings you 2 episodes a week with fun NBA talk and a long-form interview every Thursday. Your daily 30-minute NBA show is Locked On NBA, updating you on the previous night's action and looking ahead to what's next. The Locked On Podcast Network All-Star National Lineup, Hollinger and Duncan NBA Show, Rejecting the Screen, and Locked On NBA.
DJ Williams, I think with the makeup of this offense, when you look at the strengths and the weaknesses of it, I think he's a better fit in this offense than Boobie Whitlow is. And my thought process there is he gets the ball and he hits the hole. He runs straight to it. Mm-hmm. Boobie Whitlow, much more patient of a runner. He learned behind Kerryon Johnson, so a lot more patient of a runner. And I think with him kind of chilling in the backfield, slowly approaching the line of scrimmage, waiting for the holes to open up, there's not a guarantee that the holes are going to open up this year. So I like what DJ Williams does, and I think that he's kind of provided a spark to the running game late in the season.
I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some sort of an expert in the Auburn offensive line blocking schemes or anything, but I think Boobie Whitlow, like Kerryon Johnson, is a very good running back for a zone blocking scheme, or I believe they call it a man blocking scheme, whatever you want to call it, to where he can wait, be patient, like you said, see the hole appear, one cut through the hole, make a play. And
yeah, it's a zone, and so now you're seeing more man blocking scheme when it's got man on man.
Yeah, or
you block,
gap blocking, right?
Gap is similar to zone. You block a gap or you block a zone, and then if you're in man blocking, it's like, all right, your tackle blocks this man, your guard blocks this man, your center blocks this man, and so on.
Okay. More of a power run scheme where they're like the
where
run.
you're pulling guards and stuff like that.
And it's, they're running through this gap, so go through that gap. And I think, like you said, that fits DJ. One of the things I was so impressed with DJ Williams is he finishes runs really well, and he always falls forward every time.
Yeah. His pad level is exactly what you want as a freshman. Exactly what you want.
Yeah, I think DJ Williams should be the starting running back.
Even when Boobie comes back?
Yeah.
I do too.
I think it's pretty obvious that Boobie is not 100%. I didn't hate Harold Joyner Cat. The one play they ran it. Obviously, he fumbled, which isn't ideal. I thought it was pretty big, though, that a play or two after he fumbled, they threw him the wheel route.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Because, immediately after the fumble, even though Auburn recovered it, I think Dan and I were both like, and that's the last time we'll see the Harold Joyner Cat.
He's gone. He's gone forever. No, yeah, he's
just
still
from
relevant.
a little place, just from a simple height standpoint, it's easier to throw the ball over offensive linemen if you're 6'4" than versus however tall Boobie is. And so if they feel comfortable with Harold Joyner playing that Wildcat quarterback role, we could see that moving forward in Georgia and Alabama.
All right. I'm going to play some voicemails because the last one takes us to where I want to go in regards to some of the off-season or off-the-field chatter, rather. So
I also thought Nick Brahms was really good.
I thought he was okay. I thought he was better than Caleb Kim. I don't think he was good, but I think he was better.
Okay, with a grain of salt, I thought he was really good.
Sure.
For a guy who's coming in not having a ton of the first team reps through the offseason, fall camp, all of it, I thought he played well.
Yeah, I thought it was fine.
No super noticeable mistakes, I guess you should say.
You can call the Locked On Auburn podcast at 205-502-4285.
Hey, guys.
So that's Andy Cole.
We love you, Andy.
Way to go, Andy, for one of the best calls ever. All right, here we go. Let's this guy called right after the game.
Hey, guys.
Is that Andy again?
I'm just messing with you. Hey, guys. It's Jordan. I've noticed something over the past couple of games, and I think I pointed at it on Twitter maybe 2-3 games ago, maybe even back in the Florida game. Nick hasn't been running the same exact way he did the first couple games of the season, and he looks a little less fluid on his side-to-side movement when he tries to get people in open space. Do you guys think he may be hobbled a little bit, or just bumps and bruises of SEC play maybe getting to some of his lower, or causing him to have lower extremity issues? That, and I just want to say that I was a little upset at the game last night when the team was booed when they were going into halftime. If my feed didn't show that. Other than that, guys, War Eagle, love your show. You guys are the best.
Thanks, Warden. Appreciate it. Yeah, once again, feel free to give us a call at 205-502-4285. Let's start with the Bo Nix. I haven't personally noticed that. I haven't noticed him kind of being any slower or anything like that. I think they have run less. And, with them going away from Joey Gatewood, I think that makes sense and gives a little bit of why. He ran more than I thought he would Saturday night.
I didn't think there would be a design quarterback run until probably Alabama.
Yeah. I think, you said late Georgia, late Alabama last week, and I agreed with you. So that was surprising to me, but I haven't noticed him being slower or, having any kind of, movement impairment or anything like that. Have you?
I have not, but if he is a little gimpy, again, I haven't noticed. It would make sense. Well, some of the accuracy issues, I guess, would make sense. Everything stems from your legs up. Really, every part of football, but especially as a quarterback, your mechanics start with your feet. So maybe maybe that has been an issue, and it's led to some of the other things we're talking about with Bo. But I mean, he hasn't appeared in any injury reports. There's been no talk about him being gimpy at all. Maybe you just broke the code there, but I think he's fine.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely going to look at that next time I watch a previous game, or if I go through the Ole Miss game again. But yeah, no, appreciate the call. Once again, we'd love to have more folks call in to the Locked On Auburn voicemail. The thing that Warden touched on at the end of his voicemail about Auburn fans booing, and then that resulted in a bunch of the defensive players, as well as I think Cam Stutz and Sean Shivers tweeted as well, but it was mostly the defensive players tweeting, kind of calling Auburn fans out, saying that the atmosphere in Jordan Hare was dead. It was not very good, and calling out the Auburn family, and saying essentially saying fans hey, you were not good for us today. And I think it's interesting that they did that. Interesting tactic for sure.
I love it, to be honest with you. I mean,
okay.
I think it's very clear that one of the reasons that a lot of these guys really like to come to school at Auburn is because of that, Auburn family mentality that is felt, and that is, how do you put out there, I guess, marketed might be a word to use in that situation. But the way that the fans interact with the players and all that, the booing going into halftime and things like that, that's hard, because they're not booing the players, they're booing the coaches, but it's all the same thing. A boo is a boo. And I understand how that can be, upsetting as a player, to be I'm out here busting my butt for you. I mean, they're out here trying their hardest, working their tails off year round for the fans, for the people that root for them.
You think it's truly for the fans? You don't think it's for them at all?
I mean, yes, it is. But and obviously those guys want to win games. But at the end of the day, for most of these guys, it's college football for, a lot of them is an ends to a means. Or a means to an end, sorry.
Sure.
For a lot of them, it's get to the NFL. For a lot of them, it's get a college education. For a lot of them, it's what comes next. Maybe it's coaching. Maybe it's, a job, something like that. And
right.
They chose Auburn in a large part because of the atmosphere. And if the atmosphere is not there, it's a two-way street. You expect the team to – Auburn expects the coaches and the team – the fans expect the coaches and the teams to show up and play well. They showed up and played well against Ole Miss. And the coaching staff, the players, they expect the fans to come and show up and do their part as well. And – I mean, it's hard to argue that the student section especially didn't do their part, but
yeah, I'm not crazy about the players tweeting at the fans, but also I don't think it was right for the fans to boo. I don't understand why you would ever boo your own team. That's very odd to me. I don't care if it's your head coach. I don't care if it's the play calling. I don't care if it's an offense or the defense. That is a very odd concept to me. I think it'd be better to support them by just not going to the game to begin with. To me, I am a little surprised, and I'm really curious. I don't think this will ever get out, but I'm sure Malzahn, the next time he's made available to the media, will be asked about all of his players speaking out and talking to them. We don't get him tomorrow because of the bye week, but I'm sure the next time he's made available that he's going to be asked about that. And I'm sure all of that will be handled behind closed doors. The next game is Georgia, so there won't be any suspensions or anything like that. But I don't think that's the right thing to do. Now, we saw Auburn in the NFL, and a former Auburn player in the NFL, Jermaine Whitehead, tweet out things. I mean, it's just obviously that is the far extreme version of that. I mean, as far as just handling thoughts on Twitter.
And that is obviously a lot different than what the guys did. I don't really hate it because, for the most part, it's 18 to 22, 23-year-olds who are...
You got to be held to a higher standard, though. You can't be doing that. You were playing D1 football in the SEC for a program that's in the thick of it every single year. I don't think you can do that. Obviously, you can because they did it, but I don't think that makes it right.
The reason I don't hate it is because it is 18 to 23-year-olds who were tweeting primarily at the students in the student section who are the same age.
Then you need to say that. In the tweet, you need to say, I need my classmates there for me.
Okay.
If that's true, I 100% agree with you.
But I mean, that's what most of the people, like most of just the fans, that was most of their issue also, was with the student section. And
It's bad. It was bad.
It was not a great showing from the students. I don't know. The whole thing, I think, is now going to get overplayed and over analyzed and
I think
all
it's
that.
going to be a good thing for Georgia. I bet that place is going to be crazy.
It's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
And you know, there were even some national media people who were tweeting like, if you were there in 2017 for Georgia and Alabama, you know that there are some days when it's just like teams come into Jordan-Hare and it's like they're not going to win today because of the atmosphere.
That Iron Bowl is the loudest the 2017 Iron Bowl was the craziest I've ever seen that place.
Okay. I thought that the Georgia game was better.
I think there were moments in the Georgia game that were louder, like when the defensive line consistently got the from early, and then the carry on screen, like the throwback screen where he ran it all the way, like that was crazy. And in fact, I was in the press box that game, and I was on the elevator on the way down, and I didn't see the carry on live, but I was on there with friend of the program, Justin Ferguson, and some other folks that were writing for SEC Country at the time, and we were like, something just happened. It's like you could hear it through the elevator. Like that's the only time I've ever been able to hear that before. And so like that was crazy. But I think just the general of like at the end of the game, just a celebration of like Auburn just put it to Alabama for the first time, like that anybody that's alive can remember. And that was, I don't know, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I guess my thing was like in the Georgia game, it felt like the game wasn't over until it was over, if that makes sense. And so there was like a tension in the stadium.
Yeah.
And I was in the student section. So it was like there was like just like a tension that made it so it was like it could just pop at any point. And that's kind of what you're saying. And that any play mattered so much that people were so rowdy. And in the Alabama game, like you said, it was kind of a beatdown. And so,
but it, like I just remember watching that game and that Iron Bowl, and it was just like this looks weird. It's like this isn't like I've been rooting for this to happen for so long, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Shout out to Patriot quarterback Jarrett Stidham. Suffered his first loss as a pro last night.
I think, I mean, a byproduct of the players getting angry and going on Twitter and stuff is that, like you said, this Georgia game is going to be wild.
It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be nuts. I mean, the students are going to come out in full force.
It was announced it was a 2:30 kickoff. I bet something happens in the standings to make it a top 10 matchup.
Really?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, you mean okay? So you mean like there is? Well, it depends on what happens with Minnesota Penn State. If Penn State wins, it could be a top 10 matchup. But if Minnesota wins, I don't think Penn State's going to drop below Auburn. But Minnesota
I think they will make sure that they can build this at the top 10 matchup.
Really?
I think so. We've seen it happen in the past.
Well, and we'll also see the college football playoff rankings. The first ones come out tomorrow.
I think they are going to like Auburn. I've said that all year. They value, I mean, they almost don't even penalize you when you lose to good teams.
Yeah.
I mean, they love talking about, this team's got a great loss. Great loss. It cracks me up. It's like, okay, all right. So they really reward people that play tough schedules. And so obviously Auburn's in the thick of that. So tomorrow I'm interviewing Greg Peterson, who is the smartest college basketball person I've ever talked to. He'll be a regular this year. And Chad Slade, former Auburn offensive lineman, now with the Giants.
Who had some things to say about the student section also.
He tweeted that. I DM'd him. He said, yeah. So we're going to talk tomorrow.
Great.
So, looking forward to that. I don't know when the Chad Slade one will air. The Greg Peterson will air because Auburn basketball starts tomorrow. So we'll get some of that and some of the matchups for over the next few weeks. But the Slade one will probably air Wednesday. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Where can people find you and hear you, bud?
Follow me on Twitter at CouchPapTato, and I'll tweet out if I do anything else on the radio, I guess.
All right, sweet. Follow me on Twitter at ZBlackerby. Also, you can check out the show. I've done a better job putting it on YouTube consistently. So some people are really into that. If you're into that, yeah, just search Locked on Auburn, or just search my name, Zach Blackerby. Once again, on Twitter, at @Blackerby. The show is on Twitter, @Locked on Auburn. This has been another edition of the Locked on Auburn podcast.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
When you're finished with today's episode, the Locked On Podcast Network has an amazing national show lineup for you. Every Monday, the new Hollinger and Duncan NBA show brings you insight from former NBA executive and analytics guru John Hollinger. Rejecting the Screen brings you 2 episodes a week with fun NBA talk and a long-form interview every Thursday. Your daily 30-minute NBA show is Locked On NBA, updating you on the previous night's action and looking ahead to what's next. The Locked On Podcast Network All-Star National Lineup, Hollinger and Duncan NBA Show, Rejecting the Screen, and Locked On NBA.